Good morning, guys. Welcome in. Let's jump into it. Welcome. My arm is really loose. My little boom thing is really loose right now. I don't want to touch it because I feel like it's gonna fall. But welcome in, everybody. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody had a beautiful Tuesday and is ready to dive into today's session. Some big things happening here pre-market session. The levels leveled yesterday. Good morning. Like the video if you guys can. That's the only thing I ask. David Paris, protect your QB. I like that name. David NorCal, welcome in. Burmy, how you doing, Burmy? Prince Killjoy, welcome in. We have a lot to go over this morning, and we cannot spend time on introductions or nonsense or tomfoolery here in the pre-market because we are starting late. No tomfoolery. Let's jump into it. So we are starting a little bit late today. I apologize for that, but we are here, and that's all that matters. So we're going to talk today about what's going on here in SPY yesterday, where the market rejected and where the market is holding up right now in the pre-market session. We're going to discuss the levels that are leveling, right? We'll go over the ES charts. ES charts pretty simple as well. Basically the same thing as SPY. Some differences here, and I want to make some adjustments because I think some adjustments need to be made on my chart here in ES. But we are holding a very key level here in the after-hour session at ES. And we're going to discuss what that is. Obviously, it's right in front of you, 67.58. So we'll go into that in a bit, right? We'll go over the QQ chart. Qs, also a very clean chart yesterday, right? 627 rejections. We failed back below 623. 623 failed, and back into 618. So some big things happened yesterday in Qs. We are going to discuss what's going on here on the QQQ, okay? We'll go over AMD post earnings. AMD, big one. AMD is the one of... basically, it's on everyone's focus going into our pre-market. We'll go over Nvidia moving in tandem with AMD. We'll go over the SMH sector in general, holding a very critical demand zone. We'll go over Apple. Okay, Apple is actually maintaining itself really well. Despite the market selling off, Apple has maintained itself as a leader in the market, and we are going to discuss Apple for potential upside trades today. Okay, let's dive into it, guys. I want to go quickly to econ data very briefly. I'm going to spend less than 30 seconds here. You can time me on it. Watch this. Ready? Wednesday, November 5th, we have PMI 945. We have ISM 10 o'clock. And then we have nothing else for the session, right? So 945 data, 10 o'clock data. Earnings reports on the earnings report docket for today's session. We had AMD yesterday in the after hours. AMD sold off. SMCI earnings in the after hours. SMCI sold off. And Wednesday pre-market, we have NVO. Some interesting things on NVO. Why? Because President Donald Trump making statements about trying to get weight loss drugs lowered in cost. So NVO reacting to that here pre-market. We have MCD pre-market. And the after hours today, we have Robinhood, HOOD in the after hours session. Today's session, we have AMC, AppLovin, and then Thursday session, we have TTD in the after hours. Okay, so let's dive into our charts now. I want to spend the majority of our time today here on SPY. Okay, so yes, Trump speaks today. I believe he's also speaking right now. Trump is speaking right now in the pre-market session. He's discussing some things on the market as well. I actually saw some comments from him. Right, so let's dive into it, and we'll have a nice pre-market session. Big head, Brett. Let me make my head smaller. There we go. That's a much more. It's a much better sized head. Okay, so are you guys ready? Where's the energy? I feel like there's no energy today. Trump market, yeah, he is talking pre-market. When he talks pre-market, that's when things become a little bit frothy off the open. And he's still speaking right now. Trump is still talking right now. All right, we have how many likes here? I gotta wait for the like count to go to a certain number. 247. Guys, get the like count up to 500. I'll still go. All right, so SPY. Let's start with SPY. So yesterday's session, SPY was basically just a pop and fade, right? I think if you guys remember from the pre-market, you guys will call this, right? We spoke about the idea of the 674 being a critical demand zone. You don't want to be short in the 674s. If you're watching anything, you're looking for the pop and fade 680, right? For the short side move and the downside play. Me, Mike, and Rav all in tandem really took this trade. This was a nice trade yesterday. Now, transparently, if you are in Honey Drip, you're going to know something, right? It wasn't just as simple as let's short the 680s and get the fairy tale downside move. Actually, we shorted earlier, right? So I shorted earlier yesterday on SPY, and my first trade was a losing trade, right? So it's not going to be always, if you came yesterday and you're probably like, wow, this guy called the 680 rejection. Yeah, we did call it 680 rejection, but I shorted it earlier, right? Because I did see failures coming in a bit earlier in the market. So I did get a short position and got stopped out on it, right? I saw failures coming in around 679.60, and I basically built a short position after that candle came in, shorted right here, and stopped out right over there for a small loss. I re-entered and made the money back, but yesterday's session was all about the 680 rejections. It's not always going to be as simple as yesterday's session, though. Sometimes you're going to see things dance around levels, and that's why it was okay if you got early entries to give it a chance, right? Give it a shot as it might have happened right here. And there's no telling who's to tell you right now, right? I want to show you something right now. Look at this chart here, okay? This chart right now, you can obviously see 680 was the massive pivot yesterday that resulted in downside. But if you look at the chart from here for a second, right, you kind of get to understand what's happening here. Look at this chart now. Well, you look at this chart now, and you could have the same thought process, right? Would we be wrong by saying look for the 680 rejection if this happened, right? No, this could easily have been the top of the market, and the downside move came in, right? That's why identifying tops in the market so incredibly difficult, right? So incredibly difficult. But if you have the right execution, the right risk management, and the ability to re-enter trades at levels, you will be successful, right? And that's what happened yesterday. Yesterday, we shorted the 680s, and we got the beautiful downside move back into lows, right? That was our day yesterday here in SPY. It was a nice trading session. Now, the one thing to discuss now going forward into today's trading session, however, is it's the same thing as yesterday, right? It really is nothing different from yesterday to today, right? We are the same storybook, okay? We had some crazy frothy after hours news yesterday with AMD earnings. We had some stuff happening with the bubble, right? Everyone's talking about the big AI bubble. We have Michael Burry saying AI bubble. We have Morgan Stanley. We have the Morgan Stanley top analyst saying, hey, there's a bubble. We have the guy from Goldman Sachs talking about the overweight in tech sector, right? So there's a lot of things happening right now in the after hour session. But what's happening in the pre-market is we are reversing that, right? We are reversing that. We've broke down under demand in the after hour session, and we reclaimed it. And on SPY, you can't really see how aggressive we were yesterday because we don't have that data. But if you go to the chart that has the data, you're going to see, wow, look at this chart here, right? Look at the extra data we have here on ES versus SPY, right? More data displaying the fact that there was a V-shape for the after hour session, and we are now basically reclaiming that, right? So here's the thing, right? We now know what? We now know not to be short back in the 67.85, back in the 67.58, because these are demand zones below. And we know that if we hold here, we're probably going to go higher in the 68.41, right? That's what we know. This is what I would expect today. I would expect us, if we are back above this level here, to move into this level there. And it's just as simple as that. If we fail back below 67.85, we go back into 67.58, which would be the after hours low, right? So that's what I'm seeing today's session. I'm seeing that there is a zone here between 68.05 and 67.85, which I would not touch. I would only look for longs above the highs here. If we do get higher, I would look for the move into 68.41, which would be your supply from yesterday. Or I would look for shorts under the 67.85 for the downside move back into lows here. And transparently, I don't really love the way SPY looks today. I don't love the way it looks. Yesterday, I had the utmost clarity. Today, my clarity levels are down low today, right? I don't really know what's going to happen. So I think upside above the highs here for a move into this demand zone, but it doesn't mean you have to long that, right? If I see us breaking out above 68.05 today, it doesn't mean I go long. It just means I expect upside back into the next level supply, right? That's my expectations today's session, right? And on the SPY chart, I'm going over ES first, really, because ES has much more data, right, for today's session because of the after hours move. And if you go to SPY and correlate it, you're going to see, well, hold on a second. We are just holding demand here, right? We have just done what? Basically, we see a little V-shaped reversal, right? And an upside back above demand here. And now what are we doing? We either do this today, back into supply, 680, or we do this today, back under 674 for the downside move. So everything that we do today is guided by what? It's guided by the 674s. If we are above 674, we are maintaining demand and moving into supply. If we lose 674, we are losing demand and we go back into next demand. It's actually pretty simple here on SPY. It just isn't so, it's simple. The levels are simple, but the price action here with the after hours downside move and the little V-shaped reversal, it's not so simple. We don't know what's going to happen here. Now, is there a potential short squeeze today, right? Because we just trapped shorts down below. My argument is probably low, right? Probably low chance of squeeze risk today because not a lot of volume in the after hour session, right? If I go to ES, I'm actually curious. Let me confirm that. Yeah, look at the volume. So I can't tell you that there is high chance of squeeze risk today because there's not a lot of volume in this downside move. If this move happened during the regular trading session, I would say a high chance of squeeze risk. But today's session, it's not really happening, right? This in a normal scenario, I would say trapped seller scenario here. Trapped sellers down back below demand. How are they going to react to us being back above demand? Well, we're probably going to stop out and see upside today. I would say that. But today's session, even though that's still the case, it's just not to the same extent because this move happened in the after hour session and obviously traded a much lower volume, about 1/10 the normal volume of a regular day. Okay, so keep that in mind, guys. I know I'm being a little repetitive here, but it is repetitive, right? That's just what it is today, right? We have demand and we have supply. And we just need to trade it the same way we did yesterday. Okay, let's move on. Let's go over the QQQ. On the Qs chart, here on Qs, you can see the levels on Qs were actually so clear too. Now, the one thing that I did here in QQQ is I added one level, okay? I added this 627 level of supply, okay? This is 627 on this chart. And the 627 came in from the Friday's lows, the October 31st lows. It also was the low of that Thursday session, October 30th. And it now became the high from our Tuesday session on November 4th, okay? So that is obviously a clear level of supply here on QQQ. Now, I would say if you were to say one thing, right? I told you guys to focus on one thing yesterday. What did I say, right? I think this is why I love trading is because everything is very systematic and you can have reasonings for everything. If you look at the chart, tell me exactly where you think, I mean, I'll tell you, right? But tell me where you would think you would short Qs yesterday, right? I mean, you had option one, you could have shorted it back in supply. But if you were just focusing on the 623s, like we discussed in the pre-market yesterday, you said, you know what, focusing on 623 because that was the main pivot on QQQ. And if you know why, well, it's because it was the gap fill level, right? Look at the QQQ gap fill level right here. And if you focused on this one level yesterday, not even talking about the 627, because technically we didn't even have this level on Qs. But if you said, where could you have shorted QQQ? Well, it was right here. This was your short yesterday in Qs, right? It was at 12:30 in the afternoon session. And I hope some of you guys took this trade, right? And the question is, why wasn't it anytime sooner? Why were there no shorts anytime sooner? Because we contextually were above the demand, above the demand, above the demand, above the demand. And finally, as soon as we broke down under our demand zone, it turned into a break, a retest, and a downside move, short side play, right? So this was your trade yesterday. Obviously, it was your 623 rejection, and that's what resulted in downside yesterday's session. Now, today's session, it's the same thing, right? The gap has filled here in Qs, and we are now holding 618 as demand below. And the question becomes this. Can we move back into supply today? Supply is 623. If you see us fail supply, look for shorts at 623, right? That's my main thing today's session for Qs is how do we respond to the 623 level? If we are above a level, bullish. If we're below a level, bearish. And for that reason, you can say that QQQ is a bit weaker than SPY today, primarily because we have the SMH weakness, right? The AMD weakness, the Nvidia weakness, the SMCI weakness, right? So that's what we're seeing here on the overall sectors. Now, one thing I want to add today, guys, on SPY is this one thing here, okay? So I said the 674 is so important. The reason why it's so important is because if you zoom in, you're going to see, look at the reactions here at 674. This is not a small level, right? This is a big daily demand. I even have it written out over here. But something I also noticed in the chat, someone tagged me on this morning. It's also the daily 21 SMA. Okay, this is also the daily 21 SMA here on SPY. If it loads for us, which it is not loading for us, and it's making us look. Oh, this one. There you go. There it is. So it's also the daily 21 SMA, right? So you're seeing some things line up here, right? Some things line up telling us, hey, let's not be Muppets and short back into demand here. Let's look for pop and fades or a breakdown of that daily 200 SMA or daily 21 SMA for continuation downside moves, okay? That is what I'm seeing here on the indices side, right? And if you look at here at the ES chart, it's the same thing. Look at where the ES bounced yesterday, right? It's now reclaiming the daily 21 SMA. It's bouncing almost perfectly off of it. So let's understand how important this level is going into our pre-market session, right? Okay, what I want to do is I want to start diving into some other tickers today. I want to start diving into some other tickers. I want to start going into Apple and some other things. Okay. All right. So let's go into the first ticker today's session. Let's go over Apple. So I am really happy for my trading yesterday because I think that we had the right ideas in terms of the levels on SPY, the levels in Qs, and we had, in my opinion, the best stock selection on Apple, and that was what it was, right? So I longed Apple off the open, Rav long Meta off the open too, and those were the best tickers to trade long yesterday. And if you recall in the pre-market session, what did we say about Apple Meta? We said, well, first of all, Meta, don't short back into demand here, right? Look, this is probably going to pop and fade. And it did pop and fade, right? It was a pop off the open and actually was pretty strong off the open, okay? But Apple, even more so, you can see Apple has maintained itself really well. So despite the overall market selling off here, Apple has maintained a bull structure. And we had a good short on this remember on Monday session, we shorted the 269 level. So we said, watch for Apple relative weakness. We said, look for the pop and fade, downside move under 269. So we took this short on Monday session. And then on our Tuesday session, we longed the 268 for an upside break into 269 plus. So that was our trade on Monday off the open, or Tuesday off the open rather. And then right into when we finished up live trading, we took this trade over here, right? This was the 268 reclaim, right? So 269 reclaim, we went long over here, and it just rallied into highs here into close. So that was the day yesterday, and Apple was just very strong, right? Despite the market doing this yesterday, Apple was relatively strong. And if you want proof of this, right, go to your plus icon right over here, and you're going to press the SPY chart, and you're going to compare here. There's a comparison to be made. You can see, look how the charts are different. Look how the charts are very discrepant recently, right? You have a downside, right? It was initially very weak. And then obviously when this was gapping down on Monday session, this was actually maintaining itself pretty well. So that's what was happening here on the SPY chart versus Apple. And we are now well above demand here. The question becomes, where can we trade this now? Well, I no longer want to trade this off this low anymore, right? This low over here is too overused. And so for that reason, I'm looking to see if we can get back above the highs. Now, my supply zone here on Apple is going to be between the 272s and the 273s, right? You can see 272s and 273s. So my view going into my Wednesday morning is to see if I can get a little bit of this today, right? A little bit of a break, an upside retest here at 273 for an upside move and continuation back in all-time highs, right? That's what I'm looking for today's session on Apple, is the break and hold above 272, 273. Now, transparently, I don't know, like you can see yesterday's highs around 271.50, and you can see the highs of that Thursday session, 272, and then the Friday level was 273. So I want to see how we respond at 272, but the real level is 273. So if you want the utmost clarity, look for it to clear 273. That, for me, would give me a more sustained conviction for the breakout trade. So watching this to happen today above the highs. Of course, if we lose back under 269, I no longer want to go long in this chart, right? So this is my bull bear pivot today. It's 269, above bull, below bear, okay? Tesla, let's go over the Tesla chart here on TSLA. So my dog is snoring in the background. Hold on one second. I don't know if you guys can hear that. That was actually pretty crazy. My dog was literally snoring like crazy. All right, so Tesla. on the Tesla chart, 450, I just woke my dog up. That was crazy. 450. So 450 is your key level on Tesla, and you can see it's maintaining itself at the daily 21 SMA as well, just like the overall market is. And to me, this is a little bit of a choppy chart, right? You have some maintenance of demand here, but it's not so clear what it's going to do. At this point, I would say this, that the one thing I am clear about is I would say let's not short back into our demand zone, right? 445 is an area I do not want to short back into, right? You can see 445, 445, 445, 445s, 445s, 445s. So the one thing I'm very clear on is let's not be short into that 445 level. Now, could you take that statement and inverse it and say let's long the 445? Perhaps that's the idea, okay? So if you're looking for longs today, you could look for the longs at 445 and look for it to reverse back into 460. That's potentially your trade today. But again, that's only contingent on it holding 445. So if you are trading Tesla, which by all means go for it, just use 445 as your base. You should understand this is a bull sentiment until 460, and 460 is your supply zone, right? 460 is your supply zone. I think that's where you saw the big rejections there. Would it be 443? Yeah, sure, it could be 443. The whole zone, right? It's just a zone, rather, right? So you see the zone between 444, really. It's 444 to 445. So if you're looking for retention here, you're looking to see can it hold that bottom of that zone here. You see 444, 445, 444, 444, 445, right? So that's your level here on Tesla, okay? It's that zone between 443 and 445. If you're in this zone here, this whole area for me is my no short zone. I do not want to short back into the zone over here. Now, obviously, if you move into supply today, be careful longing back into supply, 460 as your critical supply zone, right? Let's move on, guys. Let's go over a few other names. Let's go over Nvidia. So Nvidia is Nvidia downside under 2150. So Mike took this trade yesterday under 2150. It actually worked out in the afternoon session, so it was quite a nice move under 2150. It took some time, but it did actually work out nicely, and it gave you the downside move, right? Look at what happened yesterday. 2150 broke down, and it moved into 195 demand lows. So let's look at this chart for a second, all right? On the 2-minute chart here, this looks like an incredibly bearish chart. Look at this chart here. On the 2-minute time frame, you look at this chart and you're like, wow, this is an incredibly bearish chart here. But on larger time frames, what's going on here? On a larger time frame, this is maintaining itself at the most critical level. You can see, look at what's going on over here. What is this right now? This is a larger time frame break and retest on Nvidia's chart. You can see a series of highs formed over here, a breakout trade over here, and you finally got your pullback to your demand zone to go long, and this is your long spot today session, 195. I have no intention of going short today, Nvidia. I have no intention of going short today, Nvidia. Okay, why? Because it's a larger time frame bull structure maintaining, right? That's what we're seeing here. If this can reclaim the 2150, this is going to rip. Now, obviously, this is supply above us, 2150. But this is a big, beautiful demand hold here. If we can reclaim 2150 now, we'll see upside in the market. That's just simply what it is today, back into all-time highs. 2150 is your important bull bear pivot. But if you go back to this chart for a second, look how important this demand is. You can see a big hold off demand. If the market were open right now in options, I would have longed at 195. That's where I would be long today. If we can reclaim 2150, that's where things become frothier upside. Now, I'm not saying this. I still think it's possible you may see. I shouldn't have said that I won't go short in Nvidia because 2150 is still a big supply, and so this is the thing is, do you trust the larger time frame bull flag, right, on the 1 hour time frame, or do you trust the smaller time frame 2150, 2150, 2150? You may still have a trade here at 2150. Okay, you may still have a short term trade here at 2150. Do I think eventually it breaks? Probably, right? But 2150 is your supply today. So if you are looking for shorts, you can short the 2150. I actually will watch this. The first tap of 2150, I will look for shorts, okay? But if we do clear 2150, we're back into that bull thesis, and we're looking for longs back into 204 and back into 209. So that's your key thing, right? I'm kind of retracting my I am retracting my statement. I said I would not short Nvidia. I'm retracting that, okay? Nvidia 2150 still short at first tap, but the larger time frame thesis is what is spooking me here, okay? So let's see what happens here at 2150 today. That is the biggest thing to discuss, okay? Let's move on. Guys, we have 1,100 people here in the pre-market session. And out of 1,100 people here, we have 460 likes. That is embarrassing. That is bad. Let's get the like count up, right? Amazon. So we didn't do Amazon yesterday. And, there's a reason why. It's not just because I forgot. It's also because Amazon wasn't doing anything. Now today's session on Amazon, the one thing we're watching here is this, right? Just do yourself a huge favor. 241, add alert. That's just what it is. If you see Amazon pulling at 241 and you see it set up a demand hold here at the previous all-time highs, then that's your long side entry. So watch for 241. Watch for 241, right? This is still a level to keep on the back burner, but not at 250, right? This is not going to be a long at 250. I don't really have any interest here. 241 is your demand hold. If you pull back there, I'm looking for a long side trade. If I see it hold up and some 5-minute time frame confirms, right? Some 5-minute candle confirms, yeah, we'll long this trade. So keep the 241s in the back burner, set alert, and then close it out and watch something else for the session, okay? So let's move on. Let's go over a few other trades today. Let's go over Meta. So I am not the meta man. But you can see it's basically just holding demand below, and I would again be cautious of shorting this right now, right? I would be cautious of going short on this level, on this chart, because anything that has a straight down move usually is followed by a retest and a continuation short in that overall direction. Now, I do think, with that understanding, I think that this probably dead cat bounces somewhere. I just don't know exactly where that dead cat bounce is going to be. I think probably 630. It was holding yesterday, and I would say you don't want to be short at 630, right? So 630 is your key level. Okay, if we hold 630, it probably goes into 640, 646, 647, right? And then obviously 678 is your supply that I'll look for shorts into. So if you pop in at 678 today, that's my short side play. But of course, that means you can probably go long, or you can probably go long out the 630s if you see it holding there and you see confirmation. You can probably long it for the. I mean, look at this. If I'm saying short the 678, you could in theory take that and long it back into 678, right? It's a $44 upside move here, so you could do that. But again, it is a downtrend. You are going against the overall grain here. But 630 as your bull bear pivot. I have no intention of trading Meta today. But let's move on. Let's go over a few more names. PLTR, Palantir. So Palantir back at the daily 21 SMA. A lot of things seem to be doing that. This is a very common denominator across the market this morning, is that daily 21 SMA. Look at the lows of yesterday's session, 185.40, 185.50 yesterday's session at the daily 21 SMA, and we have now maintained it. The question mark is, what do we do today? 188 is your next bull bear pivot. It's your level here. And so if we are above this level, we are holding demand, right? We're holding demand here above this level. If we lose this level, which could happen, we'll see downside back into the daily 21 SMA and possibly even lower if we break down underneath it. So keep that on the watch today. Watch the 185s as your yesterday's lows and your daily 21 SMA. And then also watch the 188s as your level, right? Your key level here. So that's what I'd be looking for. And really, the level I'd be focused on more so than anything today, is this level right here, 185. If 185 breaks, we'll see sustained downside here on the Palantir chart. AMD. So AMD. I forgot AMD. Almost forgot AMD. So AMD, big downside post earnings from 253 to 243. And we've now stemmed underneath. We've now broken underneath our 243 level in the pre-market session, or the after hour session rather. We traded underneath the daily 21 SMA, and we've now V-shaped it and reclaimed it. In my book this morning on AMD, there is no short right now. There is no short right now. In fact, if it holds this 243 level, it goes higher. And where does it go higher to? It goes higher into supply, 252, right? So my intention today here on AMD is to trade this in one of two ways. Ready? Watch this. Level 1, 243. That's your clear level of demand below. You can see 243s, 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 and daily 21 SMA at 240. So you have some demand down below us that I would not be short into. This is an area, this is a wall, right? This is the Great Wall of China. We have the Great Wall of China right here. Do you want to be, head first, 50 miles an hour into the Great Wall of China? Probably not, okay? So 243 is your big demand zone today. Your supply zone on the exact inverse is 253. So your supply above us at 253. That's what I'm seeing this morning. I see supply above and demand below. My intentions this morning, if I do trade AMD, is going to be, hey, do I see us retaining 243 today? If so, upside. If I see us moving a supply and I see some 5-minute candles confirming downside, I'll look for rejections there at a 253 level. So my level 1 and my level 2, that's all it is today's session on AMD, okay? That's what I'm looking for today's session on this chart. Let's move on. Let's go over a few more tickers. It's 9:06. We have time for a few more. We have to move fast though. SMH in massive supply here. Look at this leg of supply, demand, not supply. Look at this leg of demand here. 347, 347, 347. Look how important this level is. Look how important. Take a second, take a gander, right? This, in my opinion, is the most important chart this morning here on semis. Look at this chart. What is going on here? You have a massive leg of highs producing also lining up with the daily 21 SMA, producing a hold spot in the pre-market session this morning. It's going to be a frothy session today. It's going to be frothy. It's going to be interesting. This is a big hold of demand after a massive move down yesterday. What do we do at demand? That's what's happening. You're seeing us maintain right now. Let's not be short back into 347, 348 today on the semiconductor side, okay? Let's go over one last one, guys. One last more ticker. Let's finish it off with one more. Let's go over bull. I'm curious about bull. I mean, bull is bouncing back. It's in demand here. You know what I think about bull. You guys know my thought process on bull. I don't want to say anything because I don't want it to scare people out of bull because it's your trade, right? This is your trade. This is your thesis. The levels are still holding, so you're fine, right? 9.5 is your level. That's your key demand zone below. If it's holding 9.5, it must reclaim 10.0. 10.0 reclaims, it goes back in highs. Has to reclaim 10.0 though. 10.0 is your big level. This is a level it has to reclaim. 10.0 is a level it must reclaim. Guys, that is it for me. Enjoy your Wednesday session. Have a good trading session, and I'll see you guys all on live. Bye, guys.